This is the plaintiff, Donald Sohn. He says he hired the defendant to stage his house and modernize it because he was going to put it up for sale. She was supposed to spruce up the landscaping, the painting and furnishings so it looked nice to potential buyers. One day before she was scheduled to show up to do the work, she emailed him saying she was quitting. He lost out on rent. The sale of the house was greatly delayed, and he's here suing her for the $7,000 she cost him. This is the defendant, Alice Kemp. She says she was forced to back out of the deal by a competing realtor who strong-armed her into canceling her deal with the plaintiff. She told the plaintiff she was sorry, but there was just too much drama and she wasn't going to be able to stage his house as discussed. Bottom line, she's not responsible for the inability of the plaintiff to sell his house in a bad market and doesn't owe him all this money. She's accused of backing out.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case in the docket, the plaintiff hired the defendant to fix up his house, and that person flaked out. But the defendant says the plaintiff is blaming her on a bad real estate market. It's the case of the fix isn't in.
Thank you, Douglas. Donald Sohn, you are suing Alice Kemp for $7,000 that you feel you are owed. You actually feel you're owed a lot more than that, but that's a statutory maximum in your state of Massachusetts, because according to you, she breached a contract to stage your home. All right, what happened here?
Your Honor, earlier this winter, I decided to sell my home, and I wanted to find a stager who is somebody, if you don't know, takes your home and gives you recommendations about how to fix it up, make it look nice. They also typically furnish your home with sort of fake furniture to make it look lived in and make it look nice and well kept.
Instead of the furniture that was already there?
That's
You were
correct.
renting that place out? You had tenants there?
I was, yes.
Okay, was it a house?
It was a freestanding house.
Okay. Do you need a degree to be a stager or just good taste?
No, I work for just investors primarily, and when they do a flip on a house and it's empty, I bring in the furniture and get it ready for the
Where do you
photographer.
get that furniture from?
I own it. I buy it. I have, it's a
Like do you have a storage facility with all of that furniture?
I
Okay.
do, yeah.
All right. And then you bring the furniture in because it's nicer than what there is in there. And you have the tchotchkes and the knickknacks and you have the style and then you... All right, how long have you been doing this?
Oh, about 3 years now.
Is this your full-time job?
No, absolutely not.
What's your full-time job?
I'm a real estate agent.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so he contacts you and at the time he hasn't listed the place yet, right?
No.
In fact, you were hoping to get the listing.
Well, it would have been nice. I gave him
course.
some advice.
All right, so you were going to charge him how much to stage the place?
$2,500.
All right, did you get a deposit or anything?
No.
All right, now, one of the first things that had to be done in order to stage a place is you got to get the renters out, right? Because you want to fix the place up. Was their lease up?
No, their lease wasn't up. They were sort of in a month-to-month type of lease.
All right, so you gave them their 30 days notice.
Right.
And when did the tenants move out? In May?
At the end of May.
Okay. Now we're in June.
Right.
And what happens?
I was really getting anxious to try to get this house on the market, and there were some delays, mostly just waiting for the tenants to leave, but also on Alice's company's part, where she just kept on saying the workers that she was hiring. There was a big delay, but they would be coming. So
who were the workers you were hiring?
Actually, they were my daughter and her boyfriend have a small painting and handyman business on the side.
Are they
as well.
licensed?
No, they're not.
Did you have any idea that she
no
was?
idea.
Okay, so what happened though?
Yeah.
Get to the breach. What happened?
So what happened was the day before they were supposed to come.
What day were they supposed to come to give you an estimate or come to start work?
Come to start the work.
Okay, and that was what day were they supposed to come to?
It was sometime in June.
Okay.
The day before they were supposed to start, the defendant sends me an email that says, I'm not going to do the work. I'm canceling everything, all the construction that we scheduled for weeks. We're not doing the work.
Why? What happened?
She didn't like
what was
the
the reason why you bailed out of this contract after agreeing to do it?
Well, the reason is I got a phone call from a real estate agent with my former company that I used to work for, where things did not part well between my former company and me.
Did you get fired?
No, I did not get fired.
In any event, though, how do you figure that even if I think that she breached the contract, I could understand if you had paid her a deposit and she won't return it, you're suing for the deposit back. You paid her $0. So how do you figure, you come into court and you say you're out like 10 grand. How? By what? You say you lost rent for 4 months, but you lost rent because you had to clear that place out in order to stage it and try to sell it. Right. So why would she have to pay you $8,400 and lost rent for 4 months?
Because she told me that I would need to give my tenants notice immediately.
You do have to give your tenants 30 days notice.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
right.
yes, Your Honor.
But how does she have to pay you rent? All you had to do was go out and find another stager.
So is this guy allowed to get lost rent from the person who flaked out?
Oh, boy. If he has a signed contract,
Yeah.
then he should be able to get the rent.
Boy, that was tough for you, wasn't it? Going inside the courtroom.
All you had to do was find another contractor, or if you're too busy to find your own contractor, you don't want to have to deal with that, then you find a general contractor who subs it, and if you don't want to deal with that, then you find another stager who's in her position. But what efforts did you make to get another stager or to get anybody else to get in there?
I actually contacted several contractors, several painters. I contracted several landscapers.
Contracted?
By June, I mean, not contacted, sorry. By June, all the quality workers in my area were all taken. They wouldn't even return my phone calls because in June, all the landscapers, they all have their jobs, their projects laid out. So they couldn't even return my calls. There was one person who returned my call and he quoted me a number that was significantly more.
Okay, so you chose not to do it, but you knew, or you didn't know it was going to be your daughter, but you knew that she was subbing out work. Would she have wanted to do the work?
Of course she would have, and I would have too. But.
So then why didn't you just let her do the sub work that she was going to do?
She just didn't want to after knowing what's going on with the other company and me and the ugliness that was happening.
Okay.
Your Honor, which I had nothing to do with.
No, of course you have nothing to do with it. First of all, let me just say that she breached the contract, okay? The problem is, how are you going to prove these damages? You're looking at me in the eye and telling me there are 0 people who could now do the work, but that's not true. Of course you need to do the work. You need to hire somebody to beautify the place. You need to hire a stager, and you need to pay the amounts of money it's going to take to do that. When you gave him that price, is that just your staging price, or did that include the landscaping and everything else?
There were 2 different prices. Mine was in an email for the $2,500, and then my daughter had sent over a statement of work.
Which was for how much?
I have it here, Your Honor.
I think it was
how much?
Close to $16,000.
$16,000. So you had lots to play with. Now you have found $18,000.
But Your Honor,
how is it that she would? Oh, and by the way, you're also, aside from the lost rent, because according to you, you cannot find a single landscaper in Springfield, Massachusetts, nor a single contractor who will work. You're also suing for a painting estimate $500, and landscapers $500, and $1,000 for a contractor. Why would she have to pay for that stuff? Under what theory ever would she have to pay for that? Then you'd get free remodeling. How would that be appropriate?
So that was a typo. So it's above. It's the premium because it's now in the summertime, and I will look you straight in the eye, Your Honor, and tell you that I tried with full effort.
You're going to have to prove to me that you did that. I can't take your word for it. I need to see
no one
your
was
phone
available.
Records. It's because it sounds unbelievable, right? Like you know that's what you have to prove when you come in here. That you literally can't get anybody to work there between June and now, June, July, August, September. In 4 months, if there's any landscapers out there in Springfield, Massachusetts, drop me a line if you would have worked. If there's any contractors out, any painters in Springfield, you know how many? I'm going to get hundreds and hundreds of emails.
The contractors and landscapers were relatively easy. It was the painters that were really tough. They just weren't available. I called three separate companies.
I understand they may not be available that day. They may not be available next week, but in 4 months, that I'm finding hard to believe. But aside from that, where do you get this quote that it's going to cost me $500 more to paint now because of you? Where did that come from? How are you going to prove that?
I can't really prove it. It's my estimate of what the premium is.
It's all just taken out of thin air. And $500 more for the landscaper. Says who? How are you proving that? Here's how you prove that. You take her estimate, and then you have other estimates. And then you're showing me, look, because of her, I ended up now having to pay more. If you did that for me, I'd say, look, he has to pay more. But you don't bring me any proof of that, do you? And I'm talking about
also,
her daughter's estimate.
Also, because of the defendant, I gave my tenants 30-day notice where, if I didn't meet her, they would still be there because I would just do the work.
Or if you hired another
piecemeal.
stager in June, then you could have gone forward also.
But I wouldn't know when they would have started, so they would have.
Of course, and neither do I. They could have started the next day. And that's where the problem lies. There's two parts to every lawsuit.
Mm-hmm.
One is, did she do you wrong? And she did you wrong. It was incredibly unprofessional. I don't feel like being bothered, so I'm bailing on you. That's terrible, okay? But the second part of any lawsuit is, what are your damages? And you have to prove both. And you hadn't paid her a penny. If you had paid her a deposit, she wouldn't return it. I'd order her to return it and yell at her. But you hadn't paid her a penny. So how could you prove your case? Well, one way to prove your case is you go to another stager right away. And you talk to the other stager. And then the stager tells you, we can't start for a month. And the stager charges you $1,000 more than she does. I'd have an actual example of what you're out. You're out an extra month of delay, and you're out the extra $1,000 at that stager was in. We'd have a monetary damage that we can calculate. But we can't calculate it because you just went and you didn't do anything. What have you done in this house since then?
No,
Nothing?
I did landscaping work.
How did you do that?
I hired a landscaper.
Oh, how'd that work out? Just fine, right?
It worked out fine. Yeah,
okay.
But
and when did the landscaper come?
she came sometime in August. That's when she was.
Okay, so then why are you suing for another $500 that it's going to cost you to get landscapers?
Because she charged an extra $500 more than.
Okay, show me that. If you show me that, she's paying you some.
Oh
no!
I don't have it.
That was his chance.
that was my shot. I don't have it.
Yeah, yeah. Mr. San, I am ordering a verdict in your favor in the amount of $1.
Yeah.
Pay the man.
Well, the plaintiff does prevail. He may not feel that he has, but he did indeed. So you got to pay him $1.
Yes.
What do you think about that? I mean, if you hadn't backed out, this wouldn't have happened.
True, but I felt like I had given him a good reason, and I think the judge's verdict was fair.
You going to do this again ever? You learned a lesson through all this?
I think so. Yes, I think I'm going to stick with the type of clients that I normally work with. And
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank
You
you.
must sign some documents your way out of the courtroom. Mr. Sun, $1. I think I've never heard that judgment in this court before. So how do you feel right now about this?
I feel like justice was served. I mean, I think that she decided against her, and I think that's fair.
Is that what you were after, to have her found guilty?
I think that's definitely
to degree?
I think that's definitely part of it. So I'm good with it.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Sorry about that.
Yeah,
Okay.
my pleasure.
Good enough. Don't spend that buck in the same place. All right. Harvey?
Doug, the $1 judgment is because technically the defendant breached, but the fact is there are really no damages.